It's Carolyn Grimm with Accounting How To. In this video, we are going to be talking about one of the 3 headaches that comes along with using QuickBooks. So in the first 2 videos, we talked about headache number 1, which is the chart of accounts, making sure that gets set up correctly. And then we talked about headache number 2, which is products and services and making sure those get set up correctly. And I'll put those links in the description in case you haven't seen those yet. So the third headache is the biggest headache. This is where things get so messed up that people get very frustrated and they want to throw their computer out the window. We're going to dig into why those problems happen, and hopefully you can avoid those or fix them if you already have that problem. So this is the major source of frustration when people get in touch with me. It's because this part is messed up in their QuickBooks. So we're going to jump into QuickBooks so that you can look at a sample company and we can talk about where things go wrong and how to avoid that. Okay, so here we are inside our QuickBooks company. We're going to take a look at the different pieces of this banking situation. Now, in the chart of accounts, we talked about making sure that bank accounts are set up as a special kind of asset in the software called bank, because that's what's going to enable us to use that banking module within the software. So we've got a couple of different pieces that go along with that. First place we're going to go, so we're going to go over to our chart of accounts. I'm going to go to the gear icon and to chart of accounts, and you'll see that right here I've got First Dino Checking set up as a bank account type, and the detail type is checking. So this is what's telling the software that this is a specific type of account and we need to do some specific things with it. Now we can go to where we want to be in a couple of different ways. You'll see over here on the dashboard, I have this First Dino Checking tile that I can click on, or I can come over here to My Apps, Accounting, and Bank Transactions. So what's going on right here is you can see here that there are 10 transactions that need to be reviewed. Right now, the bank balance is 0 and the checking account is 0. So this means that according to the feed that we have set up, if this was a live company, the bank balance is 0 and also our QuickBooks balance is 0. So until we go and review those transactions, they do not turn up in our QuickBooks bank account. They're going to turn up in the bank's bank account because that's their thing. But for our records, we will not see those turn up in our checkbook register or our balance until we review those. So we're going to click on 10 to review. So it brings us over to this window where we can categorize things. So we've got these 10 transactions that are sitting out there. And these are things that I just uploaded from a little spreadsheet. It pulled in a weird year. Don't worry about that. So what this is looking for us to do is to go and categorize these transactions. Until we do that, they're going to sit out there in no man's land. Once we have categorized them, you'll see them turn up here as posted, meaning that they are now posted to that bank account and they will turn up in our bank register. So we can do a number of things here in this particular screen. Let's say we wanted to assign the vendor name. So we would add Radiant Advertising as a new vendor. And then let's say that it shouldn't be advertising and marketing. It should be something different. Maybe it's website ads. So we would change that here. Now we have 2 choices. We can match this transaction or we can categorize this transaction. So if this was set up as a bank account that was linked to our checking account with the bank, QuickBooks would be pulling those transactions directly from the bank and entering them here in this window. So if we had written a check to Radiant Advertising, we would have in our QuickBooks that check, right? So we wrote a check, Radiant Advertising, $5,125. The bank is going to bring that in when it clears their records. So Radiant Advertising made a deposit, and now the bank knows that we wrote this check. So what this is looking for is if it is a transaction that we have already entered in QuickBooks, we want to match it to that transaction. So let's see if there's any matches. So there are no matches turning up. That means that we did not do it, so there's nothing to match it to. So we're going to come back here and we're going to say categorize. When we've got categorize clicked, we're happy with where this is going. It's going to go to advertising and marketing. we're going to post it. You'll see that it's now gone from our list. If we come over here to posted, that's where it's going to show up right now. If we go to the bank register right now, it's going to show that in our bank register. And it's going to show that we have an ending balance of minus $5,125 because we haven't put any deposits in there yet. So now when we come back to this bank transactions window, we're going to continue to go down through here and add those items in. So let's take a look at the Sleestack insurance. And those of you who are of a certain age will think that's hilarious. What we're going to do here is we're going to categorize this, but we're going to do one more thing with it. When you're on categorize, come over to post, click the down arrow and click split. So what we're going to do here is we're going to split this transaction into two parts. We have business insurance that we're paying and we have liability insurance that we're paying. So we want to keep track in this company of how much we're spending for each of those things. So our total is $5,150. Let's say that $3,000 of this is for business insurance. And right down here at the bottom, it's showing you that you've split out $3,000 of that $5,150, and this is what you have remaining. So the rest of that is going to go for liability insurance. So we'll put that in there. You'll see that that difference has cleared up. Now when we post this, it's going to show up on our income statement, our profit and loss. Let's pull that up. We'll go to reports, standard reports. So now when we come into our profit and loss, our income statement, we can see that this has been split out so that we have those two different categories of insurance that we are paying for. We've got our business insurance, our liability insurance. This allows us to keep track of things, to see what's costing more, what's costing less. It helps with planning and budgeting. Now let's take a look at this transaction right here. And I'm going to click on it so that it will open up for us. So this is Steggy's Hardly Used Vans. And I know that Terrence Inc. just bought a van that we're going to use for deliveries. So this fed in as an expense. It's not an expense. It's an asset, something the company owns, and it's going to an account called inventory. Now, if we were selling used vans, that might be an appropriate place for it to go. But we are not selling used vans. We just bought this van. So if we jump over to our chart of accounts, and I just went gear icon over to chart of accounts, we can see that we already have an account set up for vehicles. So this is a fixed asset. We're going to be depreciating it. So we need to make sure that it is sitting in an account that can be depreciated, a fixed asset. So here we're going to change this from inventory to vehicles. You'll see that there are other vehicle accounts, but those are expenses. And we want this to be that fixed asset account. If we wanted to set Steggy's up as a vendor, we could do that here. And if we were selling this to a customer, we would pick that product from here. But this is an asset that we're buying. So we're going to post that. And again, we can come over here and see where it posted to, and we can see what account it posted to so we can make sure that, yep, we put it to the right place. So we're going to go through each one of these transactions as it comes in, and we're going to set it up so that it goes to the place we want it to go to. Now, in this case, Littlefoot office furniture is not office supplies. We bought furniture, which is an asset. So we would want to change that to whatever our asset account. We may have an account called furniture and fixtures, for example. Charlotte's Web, I happen to know that Charlotte's Web is our web design company. So we would change that from inventory to the appropriate category for that. Here's our CPA, Fern Gully. Again, if you're of a certain age, you'll find that amusing. We have a sub account set up for accounting fees. So we're going to change that account to the sub account because we want it specifically to go there so we can keep track of it. Now, let's say we find a transaction that just is like way wrong. It's not going to come in the way that we need it to. We'll use this Meg Allendon Enterprises for an example. So this was an investment from a shark on Shark Tank who was investing funds into this business. Now, when it comes through in the bank feed, it's going to come through as income, which we would then have to pay taxes on. But it isn't income. It's actually an equity. So it would go to a shareholder's equity account, but we might want to get more specific with this. So if I was bringing this in, I might want to do this as a journal entry rather than it feeding in directly from the bank account. So with journal entries, it's not going to match in this matching function that we have here. It's not going to match up to a journal entry. So in that case, if that's the way we were going to go with this, what we could do is we could come over here and we could exclude it. So we're not going to worry about it. We're going to do it as a journal entry in a different place. So it doesn't show up under anything that we've been posting. It shows up under excluded. And when it's excluded, it's not going to hit our bank register. So if we go to our bank register right now, that is not in there. It needs to be in there because that's where we got all the money to spend on this stuff. But we're going to do that separately as a journal entry. So let's talk about setting up rules, because this is the other part where things can get into a lot of trouble, but it's also a place where you can save yourself a lot of time. So let's talk about this Jack Shark attorney at law. I know that we have a sub account for this for legal fees, so we're going to change it to that. And then we're going to create a rule. And that rule is going to be the Jack Shark rule. This is money out. We're going to say all bank accounts. And if the description contains the words Jack Shark attorney at law, then we want it to go to expenses and we want it to go to the sub account called legal fees. If it was a product or service, we could set that up. If we wanted to make sure that the payee comes through, which we should, we could add Jack Shark attorney at law as one of our vendors right from here. And then this is what we want to make sure we have clicked. If we always want it to go to that account, we want to have this auto add tab turned on, because then when it feeds through from the bank, it's just going to go poof. You don't have to touch it. It will automatically apply this rule and we never have to touch it. Now, where you don't want it to automatically add is if sometimes it's this account and sometimes it's that account. So sometimes we order office supplies from this company, sometimes it's break room supplies, and we want to keep those separate. So in that case, we would turn this off. It would bring it into our feed, and then we could manually say, okay, this time we ordered office supplies. So we're going to save this rule, and you'll see that Jack Shark attorney is now gone. It automatically posted that for us, and every time that feeds in, it's going to automatically do this. You'll see that it applied a rule. Those rules are really important for making you more efficient in using QuickBooks, cutting down on your workload, but you've got to make sure that you have them set up correctly. Because if you've got it set up to automatically do something and it's wrong, it's going to automatically do it wrong every single time. And then you've got to manually fix all of those problems. So in this function, the places that you get into trouble is here in this pending section, having it go to the wrong account. And that's why having an understanding of your chart of accounts is so important, and your products and services, because you don't want something like Charlotte's Web Design going into your inventory account, because that's going to mess that up. You want to make sure that, and you want to make sure that if it's an asset, it's going to an asset account. Maybe you purchased a sign to go outside your building. You don't want that in advertising and marketing necessarily. You may want to have that in an asset category because it's something that has a long life. That's different from if you order brochures that you're going to hand out to your customers. That would go under advertising and marketing. The next place that you run into trouble is if you have transactions sitting out here and you're looking at your bank balance and you're like, oh, great, I got a lot of money. You don't have a lot of money because you've spent it. You just haven't categorized your transactions yet. The other part of this is knowing when to exclude things. So sometimes if you're looking at your bank register and you're like, oh, I don't see those transactions, the download must not have worked, and you go back and you update again, you go up and you hit the update button on your bank transactions, it's going to bring those in again. So then you end up with a double batch in this transaction window. So that's a point where you would want to exclude the duplicates. Now, let's say you posted something and you're like, ooh, that went to the wrong account. So you can come in here to the posted part and you can update that. If you want to put it back into your pending so that you can make other changes, you can click undo. So now it's back here. There's Radiant Advertising. So if we wanted to split this into two different categories or whatever it is we need to do with it, we can do that here. So that's the banking part that can often cause headaches for you. So it's those three things: chart of accounts, products and services, and the banking function. Those are where the three big headaches come in. So I hope those videos have helped you to avoid some of those headaches, and I will see you in the next video.